Hello peoples of the internet, my name is Lily. Welcome if you're new and welcome back if you are not. And if you're new here, you're probably looking at me like I'm crazy. And you're probably right. So today we are going to be doing books I'm thankful for in honor of Thanksgiving. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so I need to film this quickly. But if you notice, I am wearing a lot of green, and that's because today at school was, like, wear your school spirit, and our colors are green and white, so, yeah. Yeah, so I have a tutu on as well. See. But yeah, so let's just get into the books I'm thankful for. If you may notice that there are a lot of books that I absolutely adore that aren't on this list, but that's because I want to just highlight the ones that have changed my reading life in one way or another. So, like, Audrey the Secrets and These Are the Games, that's not on here. June Her isn't on here, I'm sorry. See, she's sitting right there. But I love those books nonetheless. They're so amazing, but these are the ones I just want to highlight this Thanksgiving. So, first one we're highlighting is obviously Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is probably my favorite book of all time. I absolutely love this book. It changed my life in the best way possible. In 4th grade, my 4th grade teacher read aloud, or my 4th grade teachers read this book aloud to us, and I absolutely fell in love, and I have been this, a reader ever since. Without this book, I wouldn't be this person. I probably wouldn't be a writer, probably wouldn't be a booktuber, wouldn't be a reader. This book found its way to me, and it changed it, and I love this book so freaking much. You guys have no idea how much I love this book. I'm talking really quietly, I'm sorry. I love this book so much, it changed my entire life, and I am eternally in debt to this book. And if you haven't read it yet, you should read it. It's really good. It's a middle grade fantasy that's hilarious and amazing, and my friend's currently reading Heroes of Olympus, and I love seeing her reactions to everything. Alright, so I don't want this video to be too long, so if I don't talk about these books for long enough that you think I should, I'm sorry. I don't have that much time, so. The next one is a book that has its flaws, and I can recognize that. It has its flaws. We're gonna go with it anyway. Because I need to recognize it, because it changed my life again. And that is the Gone series by Michael Grant. Again, it has its flaws. It has many flaws. But my 11-year-old heart loved this book with my entire heart. I just said that. But this is a pretty dark, like, science fiction novel. And I loved it so much. This was one of the first books that made me be like, I want to make readers feel the way Michael Grant made us feel in this book, meaning that, like, I wanted readers to be on the edge of the seat, to be scared for the characters, to cry because people die all the time. People die a lot in this book, which is what I do. I write a lot of stories, and at least somebody dies in one. It's great. That's weird. That sounds really weird. I sound psychotic. I'm sorry. But I really loved this series when I was younger, and it made me find a love for writing. I already had an inkling of a love, like a little spark, but this ignited that spark, and I'm so glad it did, because I'm still writing to this day. I can't tell. Ashford's shirt looks dirty, but it's just not. Also, he's not nice. The next book, I don't think I have it right here, but I want to mention it anyway, and that is the Divergent series by Veronica Roth, specifically Divergent. I love this book. I love this series. I still love this series. If you watch 15 books in my adult TBR, you know I was obsessing over, just like fangirling over the series for like 5 minutes straight. But this series was the series I read after Gone, I think, or maybe I read The Hunger Games in between. And it just made me so happy. I loved the relationship between Tris and Four. I loved just the entire aspect, the entire idea behind it, and just the premise of it I loved. And it that was the last shot in me wanting to write. Like, I read that and I was like, I want to write books. So those Gone and Divergent definitely made me want to write books, and I love Divergent so much. So, and I feel like in a way Divergent kind of sparked my love of experimentation books, because it wasn't really experimentation, but like I love the idea of the tests and the different initiation processes they have to go to, and the mind games in those books. I loved that, so I definitely think it did spark my interest in that kind of stuff. In the next book, again, I don't have it physically because it's upstairs, and I'm not going upstairs for this because I just, I need to film this video right now. But this is an experimentation book, and that is the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. If you know me at all, you know I absolutely hate 6 of the books in the series. It's like 9 books in the series, and I hate the last 6 because they're all trash. And I know Jenny from The Story Ain't Over agrees with me because I've watched her, like, I hate these popular books video. The first 3 books are amazing. I loved them. I loved everything about them, except the fact that I wish there was more experimentation in them, except for, like, 50 pages most in the first book. But anyway, this was one of those books. This was the first experimentation book I really read, and it just made me want to write experimentation, made me want to write experimentation that was actually experimentation and not just like 50 pages of the book, and made me want to read more about that subject, because I just love the idea of human experimentation, which is so weird and kind of like forked up, but like, come on, yeah, so I really did like the first 3 books in the series, and I don't even know why I kept reading. I never finished the last book, and it was hilarious because I was so sad. And then I read Hawk, link that video up here, or up here, I think it's up there. And then because I didn't finish that last book, there were some things that I didn't know. So when I went in the Hawk and I saw things, I was like, wait, what? What? So, if you've watched that vlog, you probably know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's spoiler-filled, but if you don't really care, it's fine. You're probably not going to read Hawk anyway, so go ahead and watch the spoiler. I think there's spoilers in it, I don't even remember. But yeah, so I am pretty much, I do love that series, and I am thankful that it does exist, because I love experimentation because of that book. The next one, which I own, is The Strange and Beautiful Stories of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This was one of the first YA books I read. I mean, I read Gone and Divergent, but like this was the first book I found because of BookTube. So this kind of opened the floodgates of BookTube to me, and I'm eternally grateful because obviously I love BookTube. I am currently filming on BookTube right now. But this was just, I'm probably not going to put synopsis for most of these books, by the way, because I don't care. I'm sorry. But I absolutely fell in love with the story. And it was also the first book with, like, the F word in it. And I was like, scandal, scandal, scandal. I felt like I was reading something that I wasn't allowed to read. And it was kind of funny. But, I really love this book. This opened my eyes to magical realism and to BookTube. For both of those, I'm eternally grateful. Because I love magical realism. I love just the real world with a hint of magic. And then I love BookTube. So yeah, I love this book so much, and I'm very grateful it exists, because that's what this video is about. Okay, the next one is If I Stay by Gail Forman. This is a beautiful, beautiful novel. And I remember we were in the library for like 2 hours on a Saturday one day, and I just read like half of this book in 1 hour, and it was amazing. And I finally got this book. I bought it like a year ago, and I love this book. I'm not gonna read the sequel because I'm pretty sure it's an Adam's perspective, and I could care less. Is that his name? I don't even know this is his name, but I just loved how this was so emotional and so very sad and just powerful and amazing, and I loved it. And it just, I don't even know, it just brought so much happiness to me, but also so much sadness. And I loved this book so much, and I don't really have a solid reason for why I'm thankful for this, but when I think about books I'm thankful for, I'm thankful for this one because it was just amazing. I loved it. It was one of those first booktube books that I read. Shatter Me could also be considered on this list, but I'm not going to talk about Shatter Me. We don't talk about that anymore. But I just absolutely love it. Also, that looks like, does that not look like Natasha, I forgot her last name. But does it not look like her? It looks like her, right? Am I crazy? Whatever. But yeah, I'm very grateful for this book. I love this book, and I just need to reread it and cry again. I don't know if I cried for this one. If I did, it's the first book I cried for. So, funny story about Percy Jackson. I remember reading The Blood of Olympus, and I had like one chapter left, so I started like pretty much crying. And I read the last chapter, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I cried for nothing?" The next book was one of the first, if not the first, historical fiction book I read, and it was one of the saddest books I've ever read, and that is Salt to the Sea by Vertus Apetes. And it opened my eyes to historical fiction, and I love historical fiction so very much. And literally, all they do in this book is walk. It's so character-driven, it's so complex and amazing, and I love it so freaking much, except for that one guy. What's his name? Alfred. I hated him. I would skip over his chapters because I could care less. But I loved this book. It was so sad and emotional and beautiful. And this was like my second book of like 2020 or something. It's this is a tragedy that isn't talked about enough. It was 6 times deadlier than the Titanic, and it's just like pushed under like everyone knows about Titanic, nobody knows about this. And I think it's just such an important thing to learn about other tragedies. It wasn't just the Titanic, you know? But I loved this book, and I loved the ending, and I don't know if I actually cried, but like yeah. Alright, the next two are more recent. Those were kind of like the first books I read because of BookTube and because of like, you know, first books I read. This one opened my eyes to mysteries and thrillers. I had never read a mystery thriller, or maybe one or two, but really before this, I had never read any, and it opened my eyes to that genre, and it's one of my favorite genres now, and you probably know where I'm going with this. That is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I haven't talked about this book in a while, and I'm very disappointed in myself because it's amazing. This book is a complex, intricate, amazing mystery thriller book, and it's so dark and twisted, and it's amazing. So many different storylines that Pip like learns, and so many different pieces of this really seemingly like, oh, just find this one thing, but it's not just this one thing. It's so many other things that she learns and she finds out that connect to everything, and it's just so brilliant. And I love it. Like, these lines, true facts. How did Holly Jackson do this? I don't understand. But this is amazing. If you haven't read it yet, where have you been? And I love it. And like I said, it opened my eyes to mystery thrillers, and I absolutely love them now. A lot of my favorite books of all time are mystery thrillers. This one, All Your Twisted Secrets, These Deadly Games, June Hur's books are mysteries. Like, I just love mystery thrillers, and this I wouldn't have read anymore if I hadn't read this one. So I'm very grateful for this book because it opened my eyes to that. The last book, I felt like I couldn't not recommend this book because, or like talk about this book in this video. There are so many other books I could have picked, but this one, when I was like, books I'm thankful for, this one jumped out at me because I absolutely love it. It makes me so happy inside. It is just, every time I remember pieces of it, I either want to cry or I want to laugh or I smile. I usually smile all the way unless I'm crying, but Legendborn. I love this book so much. It is absolutely fantastic. It is absolutely brilliant, and Tracy Dion is amazing and fantastical and a wizard somehow. But this is just amazing. I loved everything about this. I loved all the different plot lines, all the different things that are running through Bree's head, all the different things that she's figuring out by accident, and she's just like, her mind is always blown. My mind is always blown. And then the ending obviously killed me. I cried, I think. I mean, I'll link that video up here or up here, wherever it is. That video where I read it. I spent 10 minutes saying pain at 10 o'clock at night. But yeah, I love this book. I honestly, like, I'm obviously thankful for this because it is amazing, and it's everything to me, and it makes me so happy every time I think about it. So I just had to mention it because it makes me so freaking happy. Yeah, those are the books that I'm thankful for, or some of them. Obviously, I'm thankful for so many more on my shelf. But I just wanted to highlight quite a few, and maybe next year, if I have any more, or if I want to talk about some other books I love, I will do this again. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my outfit. And tell me some of the books you're very thankful for in this Thanksgiving season. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, y'all!